Welcome to the TroopHR Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Bradley. In today's mini-sode, we're examining Friday's executive action surrounding H1Bs by sitting down with Nicole, Gunara, immigration attorney at Manifest Law, to unpack the whirlwind executive action taken on Friday night. With HR leaders scrambling to interpret conflicting guidance, Nicole provides clarity on what's known, what's not known, and how do we proactively support our talent during this moment. Nicole, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here. Happy to answer what I can.
Yeah, and like many HR professionals over the weekend, I spent nearly my entire weekend talking to professionals that I was pleased to talk to, but wasn't planning my weekend around. We had an executive order come through late Friday night around H1Bs. And a lot of our listeners are now scrambling over the weekend and today to figure out what's going on. And as you and I discussed before here prior to record, is anytime that I'm faced with an emergency or a situation at work, I generally ask three questions. What do we know? What don't we know? And what can we do about it? So I'm going to kick off today with what do we know right now, Nicole?
So what we do know is that this executive action is technically effective. There hasn't been a legal challenge just as of yet. When I say that it's effective is that the proclamation states that starting on September 21st of 2025 at 12:01 a.m. EDT, these policies are supposed to be in place. Since then, we've also seen a lot of guidances get issued by the relevant agency stakeholders. Let's talk about it, like USCIS, the domestic agency that adjudicates these petitions, alongside CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, that adjudicates the entry of those individuals coming to the United States. In terms of other things that we also know is that the press secretary that speaks on behalf of the President of the United States, in addition to the rapid response team, have also published their own types of guidances, which I can only say is so systematic or kind of symptomatic of 2025, which is that we're relying a lot on social media as well to get a lot of information. Now, in terms of what do we know from those guidances and those postings is that at the end of the day, it seems that they are going to be imposing some sort of fee, right? That there will be a rulemaking process that is involved with other aspects of the proclamation, such as the increases of minimum wages for some of these roles known as prevailing wages. But there's actually still a lot of open questions that are out there. For example, what is very clear is that entry to the United States for individuals who already have approved visas or approved petitions prior to that cutoff date of September 21st of 2025, that's okay. You can travel in. You don't have to technically, per the government, say you need to rush back in. But when you're talking about an open question, it becomes, well, what if I do come back in and I need to file a brand new application, a new extension, let's say, after my entry here post this 21st date? Do I have to pay and how do I pay? So there's still these open questions for sure, Taylor.
Many open questions. And another part, as subpart of what we know, is we may not know where this ends, but what are some of the options that could happen? You mentioned potentially a stay from the courts, legislative questions. What are some of those optionalities that could happen?
Yeah, so I will say that there could be potential legal challenges. As an immigration attorney in this industry, this is not a very big industry. There's maybe 50,000 immigration attorneys throughout the United States. There's a lot of colleagues who focus on litigation or litigative efforts where they try to sue the government or try to put together some sort of action to prevent some of these sudden changes. And the rumblings are very clear. That is the direction that a lot of firms are going to be taking. One thing that has been made very clear compared to previous administrations is that it's not as quick as it used to be to get some of these stays. They do need to put together a class action lawsuit of some format, and that just takes a little bit longer than it used to. Other things that can also happen is, what are the exemptions? When you take a look at the proclamation, there's a specific section that says that the Secretary of Homeland Security can determine certain industries or certain companies can be exempted from this $100,000 fee. And we recently got a Reuters publication that basically said that there seems to be an exemption for doctors and physicians. But again, there's no really official confirmation just yet. But what I do know is maybe these exemptions could be rolling out in the next few days.
And that brings us now to what don't we know?
Right. So this is one key thing that we definitely don't know is how does this work functionally? So even if you wanted to pay the 100,000, when do you pay the 100,000? Is it when you file the petition? Is it that they kind of hold it on your credit card or on the ACH payment starting on October 1st onwards? And then it triggers the payments when you've been approved, right? When the petition has been approved. Another question that we also don't have clear answers to is, what is the definition of a renewal? So according to the USCIS guidance that was released, they're saying that renewals don't have to pay this new $100,000 fee. Now, maybe for the general public, a renewal can mean, oh, okay, if I get another one of these H1Bs, I don't have to pay. But for a practitioner like myself or somebody who has to deal with a lot of these applications, there is no kind of clear definition of what a renewal is. So I'll give you an example. If I am working for Meta right now, or I'm working for a big company, and I am here in the United States and I decide to change to a different employer because they gave me a more lucrative offer, is that a renewal? It technically can be, because when I asked to change employers, I also asked to extend my status. I asked them for another 3 years or whatever time you have remaining. Does that count as something that would trigger the fee? We have no idea.
Interesting. So to play that back to you, just to capture
Yeah.
that moment, is for very common for H1B individuals to transfer employers. That may not be a renewal. That could actually be a new. We don't know yet is the answer at this point.
Yeah, we don't know if when the government says that an H1B renewal is exempted from this fee, what do you mean by a renewal, right? What boxes do we need to check off as attorneys when you file those forms associated with the application that defines that this is a renewal or not a renewal? So until we get those clarifications, the most conservative interpretation of what an H1B renewal is that you are going to renew your same status with the same employer. But that could change. We could get more clarification in an hour, 2 hours from now. It's just not clear. The terminology is not clear.
And that's been what my experience has been over the weekend. Is this thing is evolving hourly. We are recording this on September 22nd at 2:40 Eastern time. It's very plausible that a tweet could come out in 15 minutes that changes all of this, which brings me to maybe the third important question is, as HR practitioners scrambling this morning, this weekend, what can we do about it?
Yeah, so I'll tell you like the broad advice that I've been giving to every corporate client, every even individual that I've been talking to. I would just avoid all non-essential international travel until this is clarified, right? So what does that even mean? For employees who are outside of the United States who do qualify to come back, they have a valid visa stamp that was approved prior to the 21st. They have a currently approved petition that was prior to the 21st, right? If they can come back, they should come back. And if they're already in the United States, let's say you have an employee already here and they were about to get on a plane, I would not get on a plane. I would not get on a plane at this time unless there was some sort of emergent situation that would require you to do so. Because when you're going through a tumultuous period like this, when there's so many rapid changes and questions of interpretation, you never want to be the guinea pig. You never want to be the first one to test it, right? So it's better to avoid the travel until we get further clarity. And as we said earlier, every hour, maybe even every 20 minutes, we're getting something new, whether it's a new tweet, a new policy memorandum. So I think it's just better to be cautious and wait. And then the other pro tip that I have to really give for everyone is to prepare for alternatives. I think a lot of individuals don't realize that there is a whole alphabet soup of immigrant and immigration-related visas that are out there for individuals to utilize. The H1B is not the only visa that is out there that your employees or prospective candidates can qualify for. The reality is that, there could be an O1, a J1, all of these other letters and numbers that are out there that could help your employees come back or be a little bit more stable than what the H1B is like at the time or at this moment.
It's fascinating. And to your point, all the confusion that even if there is some clarity with one department or agency of the government, you don't want to be that person that's crossing the border and an agent at the border may have a different interpretation. And then to your point, you become the guinea pig in this scenario. So limiting that travel seems like a really good pragmatic step, at least for now. And to close this out here, or to come in for a landing ourselves, is I want to remind listeners that Nicole is a lawyer, but she is not your lawyer, at least not yet. And one thing that I would recommend is, as an HR practitioner, not going in alone on these types of cases and to get the proper legal counsel. And Nicole, say our listeners do want to reach out to you and start to connect in that attorney-client type of way. How do they go about doing that?
So you are more than welcome to reach out to us through our website, which is manifestlaw.com. We also have an email address that would be a really great way to really connect with us, which is help, which is HELP as in Peter at manifestlaw.com. We really are very much quickly able to help respond to your questions and inquiries at this time, especially given like a lot of the rapid policy changes and information that's going out. We have a 24/7 team that is ready and willing and able to get you those answers as quickly as possible and to schedule time with whether it's myself as an attorney who helps design a lot of these corporate programs, or the many attorneys that are in our network and in our firm. So we're more than happy to get everybody connected and get the help that they need.
Nicole, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the TroopHR Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. If you would like to learn more about our community, please visit TroopHR.com. In the meantime, keep living the dream.